40, 50 years ago, hardly anybody had a computer. The computers that were there were these gigantic cray things that took up a whole floor of a building. The whole thought of a personal computer as the chips have gotten more and more powerful and more smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and more powerful. Now we live in an age of technology where everything is connected to computer. The computers, everybody has computers. Everything we operate works off various digital chips and so forth. And the question is, what would happen if there's an attack on this high-tech system that we have now so thoroughly employed throughout our society? Well, there's a book called Game Plan, and take a look.
America faces more terrorist attacks, but not the kind you expect. Cyber terrorists are poised to launch a massive assault on the U.S. economy. That's the conclusion of security expert Kevin Freeman. He says they've done it before, and he says the signs are in place that they can do it again, hurting the finances of ordinary Americans in their retirement accounts, mortgages, and savings. But he also says you don't need to panic. You can be prepared. In his new book, Game Plan, Freeman lays out some basic steps people can take to withstand the coming storm.
Well, Kevin Freeman has written a book called Game Plan. I find it very fascinating. It's just published, just hit the bookstores. And he's here with us right now. Kevin, good to have you with us. Thank you.
I appreciate being here.
All right. You pointed out two major problems. One is a computer attack on our financial system, and the other was the so-called EMT, where it just blows everything up. Tell us about what the Chinese may be planning against our financial institutions.
Well, they have been planning this for a long time, and it's not just the Chinese. Yeah. They wrote the book. It's a book called Unrestricted Warfare. Mm-hmm. And it details that you can't beat America militarily head on. Mm-hmm. The way to defeat America is to bring down our financial system, to bring down our electric system, and attacks on the electric grid, or to do a cyber attack.
Well, you know, Osama bin Laden was a businessman. He was smart enough. He realized that those towers weren't the ultimate goal. That was to destroy American economy, wasn't it?
That's exactly right. He said hitting the U.S. economy through all possible means is our #1 objective.
Well, what are the Chinese doing?
Well, in 1999, the two senior colonels wrote that book, Unrestricted Warfare, and from that date till the present, they have accumulated massive amounts of American debt, which is one of the things they said they would do. Right. And the second thing they've done is they've built up a cyber hacking unit in the People's Liberation Army that is the most sophisticated perhaps in the world, second only to maybe the Russians and our own capabilities, North Korea, Iran. But if they can take down the stock market and take it down for a week or longer, it'd wreak havoc on our economy.
How would they do that?
Well, they could just hack into it. They've hacked the NASDAQ multiple times. They've hacked the New York Stock Exchange. They've hacked the Navy systems, the White House, the NSA, you name it.
So they can actually enter into the Wall Street, these sophisticated trading, about 60–70% of all the stock trades are these programmed things that are done by computers.
Trading, right?
Yeah, so how do you stop that?
You really can't. You've got to be prepared to bring it back up if it happens.
Yeah.
So we do our best to prevent it. But there was a Russian national, Sergei Alibnikov, who walked out with the high-frequency trading algorithms out of Goldman Sachs. He was arrested, he was sent to prison, he was released on a technicality, but he walked out with the high-frequency trading algorithms. If you had that, you could sit in any nation, any city in the world, and you could crash Goldman Sachs and cause a New York crash.
For the uninitiated, just talk about a high-frequency trading algorithm. What do they plan? How does it work?
Those essentially, those are the computers that trade continually. So they'll read the news, and they'll see a news item, and when they see the news item, they'll say, we should sell. Right. For example, the Syrian Electronic Army hacked the AP Twitter feed last April, April 2013. They said the White House has been struck. The computers in New York started instantly selling, and the stock market fell 1% in less than a minute.
It happens that fast?
It happens that fast.
Well, the poor mom and pop guy out there in Des Moines, Iowa, they don't stand a chance.
There is truth in that, yes.
All right. Now, there's something else called that electronic pulse thing, though, the EMP, that actually is a nuclear-generated pulse that shuts everything down. How does that work?
Essentially, it sends off such a powerful electric signal that we had this naturally happen in 1859, I think it was, called a Carrington event. And the sun sent a solar flare, and the solar flare was so intense that it sent electricity across the lines and blew up telegraph offices. They started burning to the ground. If the Iranians launched a very crude nuclear device over the continental United States, it would send off a pulse that could wipe out our electric grid. And we're doing very little to protect against it.
What happens if the electric grid goes down? I mean, give us some scenarios. What goes on with the average person's life at that point?
Day one, you have a barbecue outside and you meet with your neighbors. Day three, you don't have any water left and you're starting to search for water. Day 4 and 5, there's no food left on the shelves. There's no way to get gasoline out of the pumps. There's no way to get medicine. Within a month or two, people start dying, and it's very tragic. They say in 6 months it could be a sovereignty-ending event. The government collapses.
Well, there's no way of getting money either. The
money is gone. Yes, the ATM networks don't work, credit cards don't work, cars don't drive.
So if you have a stock market account, you can't pick up the telephone. The phone probably doesn't work either.
No, you can't access anything. You're isolated. You're alone. You don't know what to do.
How real is this? How close to something like this?
The threat is very real. I don't know if it's going to happen in 6 days, 6 months, or 6 years, but we have about a 1 in 6 chance every decade of it happening naturally just from a solar flare. And we're doing very little to protect.
What could we do to protect it?
Well, we can strengthen and harden our electric system. We can individually put Faraday cages on some of our sensitive electronics, but the nation itself could protect our transformer network. And we could put a missile defense that would stop the Iranians or the North Koreans from firing a missile.
How do we protect the power grid? What do we do?
Well, you just have to have a greater capacity. It's got to be able to take the excessive voltage that comes across. So there's ways that you can strengthen, and the cost to the electric network is actually very little.
I have a 100-kilowatt generator in the mountains. We've got a big one here. Would a generator work in those times? Would they be shut down too?
No, a generator could work, but you have to have access to fuel. Where are you going to get the continuing supply of fuel to run it?
You got about 30 days. So actually, you couldn't drive your car because the pumps work off electricity.
That's correct. Although we could put manual pumps on all the gas stations. But we could put a manual backup. We don't have them. We should.
But your water, you can't get water either.
You can't get water either.
Kevin, it's a frightful scenario, but you think it's very real. I mean, this is the way they could bring America down.
It absolutely is. And what I personally think it is, I think that an electronic cyber economic attack would be God's judgment on this nation from turning away from him.
Whew. But it could happen any day.
It could happen today. It could happen next week.
The last part of this game plan, you've got a few tips about what to do with money. I won't get into that right now, but it's some very practical suggestions about what to do to prepare yourself. But folks, this is a frightening book, but it's something you ought to read. It really is. Where, Amazon?
You can get it at Amazon. My website, secretweapon.org.
Yeah.
Your website, I believe CBN's going to carry it.
Okay. Game Plan by Kevin Freeman. Man, it'd be so easy to do this. That's what's so scary.
And our enemies are planning it.
Well, these couple little guys sitting around in a dorm room can do some of this. They can hack into our systems.
Yes, but they're much better financed and much better prepared than just a couple of guys in a dorm room. There's an entire segment of the People's Liberation Army focused on this.
There's no question about it.
No question. The Iranians, the supreme leader of Iran, pointed out on the Fars television network, he showed, this is our room full of cyber warriors that will bring down the great Satan.
Kevin Freeman. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to get scared about stuff, but the truth is we live in a very tenuous situation, and if we don't pray and ask God for His protection and deliverance, the thing is at the door. Could happen any day, right? You're not talking about something that's...
It could happen any day.
Wow. Kevin Freeman, thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you.
All right.